All right, today we have OG CrossFit royalty on the podcast. We have Talayna Fortunato. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast for a couple of reasons. One, you're a badass mom. Two, badass athlete. And then three, you're also a physical therapist. So you're hitting the trifecta. So happy to have you on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of your life before being a mom and kind of where you're at now?
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, happy to be here. And let's see, there was my life changed a little bit before like in between competing and the kids. So when I was competing, you know, I never did do full on CrossFit was my career. I always stayed being a PT because I knew at the age I was that it wasn't going to be something I did for decades. I knew I was going to have to go back and be a physical therapist. So
Yeah.
I never stopped working. I did work a little less, like maybe 30 hours or 25 instead of
Yeah.
full time. But yeah, I was always working. And so I would train doing doubles like during game season. But the rest of the time I would do just one session a day for three
Okay.
hours. So between working and working out, that was pretty much it. And then on the weekends, I'd be in the gym till 2 and I didn't,
Yeah.
it definitely
Wait,
hurt my social life.
I was saying, how did you like? I don't even know how you'd have a social life. Like, which came first, being a PT or getting on the podium at the games?
So I graduated PT school in May 2009, and I started my first job October 2009, the same week that I walked into a CrossFit gym.
Wow.
I remember doing my first evals with people, and I was like, "Hey, put your arms over your head." Wow,
Right.
because
I don't
I was
know.
so sore from starting CrossFit.
Right? Oh my gosh. And then just within a couple of years from 2009 to you were on the
Yeah,
podium in 12, right?
yeah,
Oh
2012.
my gosh. So
Yeah,
you're a
and it was a
PT at
different
that point.
animal then, but yeah,
Yeah. Tell
yeah.
me a little bit about that, like, what you see the difference, like, how you train and how you got up on the podium then, and then what you see now. We were just talking earlier, like, Annie Thor's daughter was back after having Freya, like, it's madness, like, there's such a big change, not only in the expectations, but, like, the demands, so
Well,
tell a little bit about that.
the depth of the men's field came first before the
Mhm.
female field. Like when I was there, the top five or so, to maybe 10, more top five females were quite a bit beyond the rest of the field,
Oh, okay.
and the men had more depth. So in the women's field, you'd see the top people at the top most events, and but now they're all over the board,
Yeah,
like more, and nobody's not many people. Maybe Tia is in the top 10 every time. Most people
right.
are down and up, and yeah,
She's just superhuman.
yeah. So, but um, now they just they've seen what can happen, what people can do, and they've started training from such a young age that they're moving the bar, and these girls are doing stuff that
Yeah.
I look at their numbers and I'm like, wow. Like my best grand time was like 209 or something. It's pretty good for my height.
Mhm.
And the girls now, like I'd say a bunch of them could do that. And
Yeah.
back then, not a bunch of them could do that.
Yeah, and you have a background in gymnastics, is that right? Or
Yeah, yeah. I
okay.
was a college Division 1 gymnast, and I competed at Southern Utah my last couple years. I was really tall to be a gymnast,
I
but
was gonna
I think,
say, yeah.
yeah, 5'7", but it really helped with all the gymnastics side across it.
I would imagine. So you've got
Yeah.
this, like, athletic career, you kinda hit the pinnacle at the CrossFit Games, you're 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 still continuing to train after that. Let's
Yeah.
fast forward to, like, when you decide to become a mom, like, how did your training shift from kind of functioning at that level to now, "Okay, we're gonna go into mom life."
So 2016, I was still trying to make the games. I always wanted to go back to that one last time because in 2014 I was hurt and I just didn't feel like I wanted to end on that. But
Yeah.
I still continue to be hurt. My body just was saying no, and it was mostly my back. So in 20 2016 was probably when it was the worst. In 2017, I actually had a back surgery, like
Mm,
a decompression, laminotomy. No fusion, but it's been a lot better since then. But
that's good.
after I had that, I was like,
We're
no more
done.
competing and
Yeah.
done. Like I don't care if I ever compete again. And so I just took my time really slowly coming back. And because I was retired, I was like, let's have fun. Let's,
Right. Finally, right?
yeah, I think I met my husband. I had the surgery in October. I met him in January, and we just had fun. We went to Key West. We did
That
concerts. Like,
you get a social life, right?
yeah, I was kind of partying for a couple of years with him. We were just having a good old time, and it's funny. I laugh if I told him if I had met you when I was training, we would not have gotten.
Right.
We would have not have hit it off because I
Aw.
couldn't have done all this stuff, but timing. And
Yeah.
so then I guess we talked about kids, and I was like, look, the clock, like I'd like to do everything in whatever order, but because I was 38 and they said I had low fertility, I was like, we can't really
Mm,
wait until I'm 42 to start
right.
trying. We would have to just kind of see what happens, or you decide that you're okay if it never happens. And
Right.
he was like, I don't. It took him. He had to think about it, and he was like, I don't think I'm okay. I'm okay if it doesn't happen, but I'm not okay if we didn't try.
Yeah.
So we just started, went for it, and then it was like the next month.
Oh, wow. So super
And
fast.
yeah, it was really fast. And he was like, he, when I told him, he was kind of like a little shocked for a bit, and then he was all in, and here we are now. But
Then off you go. And your oldest is how old now?
he's 2.5.
And then
Um,
your twin girls are
yeah,
just about 6
six.
months, you said?
Yeah, six
Oh my
months this
gosh.
Friday. Yeah, so they're almost exactly 2 years apart.
That's that I mean, that we were just talking earlier. I was like, yeah, you're in the hurt locker right now.
It's
Um,
a lot.
so I've been kind of watching you online. You've been able to get back to the gym. You were in the gym for, right a lot through your pregnancy with the girls. Like, share a little
Yeah.
bit about, because there wasn't that much stuff, especially about pregnancy and CrossFit when you had your son, and then, going through pregnancy with twins and CrossFit. Like, how did you figure out how to navigate that?
Well, so there's a couple outlets. Like there's BirthFit, and then
Yep.
I took the Hatch Athletic course.
Hmm.
She's an Aussie-based PT,
Yep.
and I just went off of those things, kind of when to stop doing certain movements. And this time I was even more conservative with the double unders and the running because even, I guess, the fascia of the pelvic floor, even though you can't feel you're doing damage, you could be doing damage. It's not like um, the diastasis where you can
Mhm.
actually feel the pulling. You don't feel it as much. So I was more conservative this time, also because towards about 34 weeks with the girls, I ended up in the hospital with a stomach virus from my son, but it sent
Right?
me into contractions. So after I got
Oh,
done with that, I was like, let's make sure. I don't even want to work out till 37 weeks when I would
yeah.
be fine if they came. So I kind of took
Right.
3 weeks off and then got back to it again. But it was much easier with one baby to train.
So I hear. I mean, and then how big were the girls when they were born?
They weren't that big. They were 5 pounds 1 ounce and 5 pounds 3 ounces.
That's
But
decent though. Like
but
that's
yeah, I mean the placenta was like this big. So two placentas in there, plus the extra fluid was
yeah.
probably like carrying a 13-pound
Yeah.
baby or something.
Yeah. No, that's definitely
Yeah.
a bit of work. Like, how did you find that, like, it was hard to balance like your athlete brain and your PT brain and your mom
Hmm.
brain? Like, how did you navigate all of that?
The it was easier the second time around because I'd been through it. The
Yes.
first, yeah, the first time I at first I bought a heart rate monitor,
Mhm.
but then because in school I learned that you didn't want to go over 145 or whatever. But my max heart rate's only 170 something, so for me to hit that's easy. But
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Yeah.
yeah, so anyways, I looked online now, and the new guidelines are conversational pace.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, as long as I can spit out a full sentence, I guess I'm okay. So
Yeah.
I kind of just went off of feel and the exertion level. And if I crossed over to where I was non-conversational, I would just pull it back until I was ready to go again. I just tried not to get too
Yeah.
in the hole. Yeah,
That makes
during
sense.
workout. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some conversations recently with people that are doing research more with elite pregnant moms. And the
Mm-hmm.
hard part is depending on where they are in the world, sometimes there's research restrictions that they can't go beyond a certain level. And that's unfortunately the level that we're trying to, we want to know more about with these elite
Right.
athletes. And it's normal for them to do that. But there's other places in the world where you can kind of look at it, but obviously it's more, retrospective studies and that sort of thing. But no,
Yeah.
that's an area. I mean, there's so many more moms now in elite sports that I think that are coming out and starting to share their stories. Like you would think elite athletes have the best information, and I feel like
No.
they're no better than the
No.
rest of us.
It's funny. My OB, the first time with Bodie, she said in one of the appointments, "Oh, because she knew I was kind of a serious
Yeah.
CrossFitter.
Yeah,
She was
serious.
like, I've got two or three other patients right now that do kind of the functional exercise that you do. Do you have any resources I could give them?"
Oh my gosh. At least
My
she
OB
asked
asked
though.
me. Yeah.
No, but
I'm
I
like,
mean, at least
well,
she
it's not in
asked.
the book.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
again, I mean, it's been such an interesting time to be in this space, the last few years because we've got women in sport being more vocal. I think we've got more moms returning
Mhm.
to sport after having kids. The research is starting to pump up a little bit more. Like it's an incredibly interesting time, and you look back and you're like, God, what the heck were we doing before? Like,
Right.
and,
Just
and
acting like you were injured already.
Right, exactly. But again, to have your OB at least ask,
Yeah.
maybe, of course, she's not going to know because, I mean, how many, elite
Yeah.
moms are there? But
Yeah. It doesn't say in the textbook when to stop doing a
no,
handstand.
no.
Nobody knows that.
Are you going to write that textbook now or no?
I don't know. I don't know the answer. That's person dependent.
Well, I
How
think, yeah,
hard is a
yeah,
handstand for you?
right. So for you, like, if you were looking back at like when you were pregnant with Bodhi and then the girls, like first pregnancy, one kid versus second pregnancy, twins, like how do they compare and contrast? Like it's like
Well,
apples and oranges, I would think.
in terms of working out, I had to stop doing certain things sooner because the diastasis came sooner, and it was my second, so it probably was going to come on
Yeah.
sooner. So, but there was definitely a day where I would put on the camera, do a couple toe to bar, and go, "Oh, there it is," and I just go,
Yep.
"I guess they're done. I guess
Yeah.
done till whenever."
Yep.
And this time, last time I did handstand walking and stuff right up to the end, and he was head down, and I hadn't really thought about it, but this time I was so concerned about them both being head down
Yeah.
to make it easier, and I knew that sometimes midwives and stuff would tell patients to do inversions and even headstands to try and turn a baby. So I was like,
Right.
if they're already head down, I don't want
I'm
to
not
turn them
turning it
back.
back, right?
So let's stop that just in case.
Well, that's the thing is we don't know, I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know if could you name another kind of elite CrossFit mom that's had twins?
Mhm.
Okay, so
Jen jo- Jen Jones just
okay,
had a pair.
okay.
They're probably a couple, 2 to 3 months younger than mine.
So we've got an N of 2 now.
Yeah, and then another girl who was on team
Okay.
just had a pair literally like 2 weeks before. We had the same due date.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I
Yeah,
remember that. I remember seeing that. Yep. Okay, so now we
yeah,
have an N of 3.
yeah. So
So, yeah.
she just has twins too. Yeah. So I'm following their stories. It's interesting to
We're,
see.
we're going to do a retrospective research study with an N
Yeah,
of 3.
right. So
So for you getting back, like, was it was it hard for you to set foot back in the gym again? I mean, this is really kind of who you've been, your entire
no,
life.
yeah,
Like, how was it
no.
to kind of be like, hey, this is where I'm going to start. This is where I want to go.
So I started last time I did the birth fit program, and this time I started with Patch Athletics,
Mm-hmm.
and I started at like around 6 weeks, maybe like a week early because I felt fine,
Yep.
and I would definitely anytime there was core stuff, I would pull my shirt up and make sure I was doing TA activation right.
Yep.
And I started even before I started her program, just trying to get motor control of my lower abs back and trying to approximate, when I would do a head lift,
Yep.
just to feel things coming back together and drawing in so that I wasn't doming. So I started that stuff early,
Yep.
and even abdominal suctioning, like trying to get those lower
Yeah.
abs in standing to come on. At the beginning, it feels like a 1 rep max. Like, I mean, in the very beginning, they don't move. They just don't move.
Right.
It's like you suck in from here up, and then this does nothing from the
It does
bottom.
nothing. It just sits there. Yeah.
Just
No,
there.
I had someone explain to me once, she's like, those first couple weeks postpartum, trying to find anything, it's like you have a waterbed for a belly and you're trying to
Squishy.
find some sort of like tension on a waterbed. I'm like, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's empty, squishy feeling. It's weird.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it comes back. I feel like the compression helps a lot. So I
Yeah.
liked wearing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm seeing that more C-section moms are getting those coming home now than even just
Hmm.
a couple years
That's
ago.
good.
It's really
Yeah.
interesting to see kind of where the trends are going and what people are getting. And
Yeah.
um, do you think that like being in the PT space versus, the CrossFit space, did one help you more than the other kind of navigate this as opposed to if you were just like a random person, um, just postpartum?
Probably being in the CrossFit space helped more than being a PT. There was resources for CrossFitters. I don't know of any PT maternal resources. They don't have programs for PTs. They have
Yeah.
CrossFit programs that I could go to, and people that were putting out stuff for people like me. And then walking back in the gym after I'd done those programs was just kind of like, okay, this is what's on the board. Can I even modify this enough to make it worth doing? If I couldn't, I would just do something else. And if I could, it's like, okay, I'm going to do step ups instead of box jumps. I'm going to start with a 35-pound bar because they're using 95. And then I gradually went up from there.
So which of your knowledge sets again did you rely more on kind of your CrossFit knowledge, or did you ever tap into any of like your clinical knowledge or things like that?
That was actually probably more being a PT that helped me guide how to graduate the progression of movements coming
Mm,
back.
yeah.
I would say, yeah, having programs for people
Yep.
like rehab programs and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's right. I think it cracks me up when people are physical therapists, but they are not active, and
yeah,
but
I
yet
don't
they work.
understand.
I don't either. It's
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's like a cardiologist that tells you to lose weight and doesn't know how.
right, right. Yeah, no, for me, I've my background, I've run since high school. I actually started CrossFit when my youngest was 3, um, because I took a continuing education course with Anthony Lowe because I was trying to learn,
Oh yeah,
how to work
yeah, I've had
with.
his course. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot more clients that were, lifting, and I'm like, "All right, I need to understand this." And then I took this
Mhm.
class and I was like, and I had FAI surgery about 15 years ago, and I was like, "Oh
Okay.
crap, I need to learn how to do this stuff because to add load." And that's actually, there's more research now on load progression and those sorts of things. And I live
Yeah.
a block and a half from a CrossFit box, so it's like there's no way around this now.
Yeah. No excuses.
But what I found, what was so interesting, and this is where I think your story is so compelling, is you have such a long background, and I've got moms that very similar to you. They've been doing CrossFit, obviously not podium level, but like since like 09, 10,
Mhm.
11, and have so much experience in the box, then get pregnant, and then try and go back to it. And it kind of like, it's kind of like a mind F, quite honestly, from like an athlete brain sense, because they're so used to it being a certain way. And I can kind of relate to it in the context of running. Like was able to do a certain thing, and now, okay, it's different now.
Hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
Hard.
Whereas for me, everything in CrossFit's hard. So
I'm dying.
right, exactly. And there's still
Yeah,
a lot
right
of things
now
I can't do.
I can
So,
do all the movements now again,
mhm,
but and it's hard for me to know what to blame that I'm still feel like I'm dying in workouts. Is it that I've slept 4 hours and got up, 3 or 4
my
times with twins? Is it that I, just had the twins 6 months ago, or is
right.
it I'm 42 now? So
Maybe all the things, I don't know.
yeah, it's a combination. So I just try to feel like maybe one day I'll feel in
Yeah.
shape again.
So that brings me to my next question is like, is there a part of you that, you watch Annie 2 years ago and you're like, would I ever wanna go back and try and compete at that level? And I know your back history and stuff might kinda rule that out, but, like, is there part of your brain that's like, "Oh, yeah, I would love to go do that and compete at that level again?"
Only for masters.
Ah, okay, yeah, okay.
Not
Not with
not
the
with those
18-year-olds.
girls. I'm realistic. I look at what they're doing and
I
I'm like,
like that.
okay, I
I
can't.
like
I'm not gonna clean 250. I didn't clean it then. I'm not gonna do it now. Like,
yeah,
no, it's not. It's not in the cards. But
yeah.
for masters, yes. And if they're taking this, they always go back and forth between top 10, top 20 that they're going
Mhm.
to take. If they take the top 20, it's feasible,
Yeah.
on one workout a day. But if they're taking the top 10, those girls are still training doubles, and
Ah,
I'm not willing to do it. My body won't take it, and I don't have the time.
yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I didn't think about that you would literally almost have to turn that into your full-time job again.
They really are. These
Um,
girls usually own gyms, or they just still
right,
train like crazy. And
right.
you probably know their names, a
Yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they probably have sponsorships too. So
Some of them still do.
yeah,
Not everybody, but yeah.
yeah. But I would imagine hopefully, working hours as a PT is probably a little more lucrative than working out twice a day to try and make the top 20.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're not giving me any
Yeah,
studios.
yeah, I would imagine.
No.
So for you now being a mom, you've been in, you've done the one kid thing, you've done the twins thing, you've done the games podium thing, you got it all together. Like looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently, or if you were talking to somebody that they competed and they were looking ahead at, I want to be a mom, I want to continue to compete, what advice would you give?
Well, I couldn't do this myself, but because CrossFit's already here, I would say compete in your 20s. Maybe when you start to hit your early 30s, think about being a mom. But I just feel I took that 10 years later because that's when it was
Right,
around.
right.
I got lucky that I was able to have kids at 39 and 40, almost 42.
Yeah,
But not everybody can do that.
yeah.
So I would have said just do it earlier.
What if that ship has sailed? Like,
Yeah.
what about like anything you wish you'd done differently as far as training or things that worked really well for you to stay active, and kind of keep that identity of being an athlete while you've kind of grown into this new identity as a mom? Anything there?
How to maintain my athlete identity, kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
I think just going back to it, making it a priority to, like, right now, I can only really work out on the days that I'm here at work. I drop my son off. I come here to work. I could see two more people, but I I stop. I go do the
Yep.
class. I pick him up and I go home so I'm working out like 3 hours a week right now, and
Mhm.
I'm realizing I don't know if that's really enough to move the needle. I think
Yeah.
I'm just staying the same and dying. But so I'm
Right now
trying to
you're
work
checking the
in.
box.
I'm trying to work in a little bit of home workouts in again when I
Yeah.
can. So to try, and maybe I'll start to feel like I'm like getting somewhere again. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would just say make it a priority to, start doing it again.
Yeah, and I think that looks different for everybody. I mean, for you having, at one point in your life, you were working out multiple times a day. This probably 3 times a week probably seems like nothing, but
It does,
for
yes.
right? But for
Yeah,
somebody else, that might be like, oh, the goal to be like, "All right, I
right.
wanna get to that
Yeah,
3 times a week." Like,
yeah.
yeah. So I think I was having a conversation, I interviewed James Clear a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about seasons in life, and,
Hmm.
I distinctly remember when my kids were, like, under a year, and, like, I think my son would have been, like, 2.5 at that point, like, early morning workouts, and that's my favorite time to work out because everybody is asleep, like, I couldn't do my thing, and it drove me crazy because like, that was my time, and now that they're older, like, it's
You
easy
can do
enough to
that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and so
So
that's
yeah. I'm
the
gonna have to
nice
figure that out.
well, and it changes too, it changes, I mean,
Yeah.
no, I very much remember, when they were little, just having a hard time matching up to what I used to like to do, and I was an older mom too, like, I think I had my oldest, when I was 30. I just slid him right under the 35, I think I was 34, and then I had my daughter when I was 36. And I was so used to having things my way that it just took me a while to be like, "Oh, hey, that's not gonna work," and these
Yeah.
could give 2 shits basically. But
I think I kind of accepted that life is
that was
just
smart.
different, and I get it in when I can, and
Yeah,
I mean, I think eventually I might do morning workouts before they wake up
yeah,
when I can count on them not waking up. But right now,
right.
they could wake up at 3, 4, 5, 6. Who knows? But
Well, we've got, no, and I remember those 2 where you're like, "All right, please wake up before I leave for work so I can pump or so you can
feed you.
breastfeed so I don't
Yeah.
have to pump," right?
Yeah.
Um, but no, it's funny now because my kids are at the age where, and I know this sounds a million years away, like I can leave one at home for like 10 minutes while I run the other to like practice or something like that. And I don't have to like drag them all in one
Yeah.
big thing. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
freedom.
Yeah. That'll be weird.
It is, it's strange because you're just so used to having them there. But it opened up my eyes to like, okay, well, maybe I can go for a run while you're just, home
Home.
watching TV or something
Right.
like that. And I don't have to drag your butt out of the house because you don't want to go out or things like
Yeah.
that. So it's seasons, but I very much remember in the beginning just banging my head against the wall. And that's one thing I wish I hadn't done. I wish I'd kind of accepted it a little sooner. It sounds like you saved yourself a lot of headaches.
Well, I think too, having done as much as I did beforehand, it was
Yeah.
like I lived that life, and
Yeah.
I mean, at this age too, like I don't really want to be at a bar in my 40s, but if I had had a
You don't.
kid at 22, I
Yeah.
might feel like I was missing out,
Yeah.
but I don't really now. So,
Yeah.
but I do miss just being like, "Hey, let's go to that concert."
Right.
Well, now we have to get like two sitters to go
Babysitters,
to
right,
the
exactly. Maybe the
because
dog will be really good at it, I don't know.
no one. I can't. I tried it last night. It was an epic fail putting down two babies with a toddler in the house. I can't do it by myself. Well, it's
I very much remember, I don't know why he did it. My daughter was maybe 3 weeks old, my husband had to go on a business trip, and somehow we thought that was a good idea, and granted, it's only 2 kids, right? But my son did not sleep the first 5 years of his life, and so I remember trying to calculate which was better if he woke up first or if she woke up first, and I think it was better if she woke up first because I could feed her and put her back down. She would actually go back to sleep, and then if
hmm
he woke up, I could go, lay down with him or whatever it was he needed,
help
and
them out. Yeah.
why we thought it was a good idea for my husband to go on a work trip and leave me alone with 2 kids, like, 3 weeks postpartum.
Yeah, that's a lot.
No, I don't miss that, not at all.
he was gone. He was gone one night when the girls were like 2 weeks old, and I was
Oh
like,
god.
not again.
No,
I don't know how
no.
single moms, or got moms who
Mm-mm.
like Jen Jones. Her husband is a firefighter, so he's gone
Yes.
at night
Well, military moms
a few of the
too.
times. I don't know how they do it.
Mm-mm.
I mean,
Mm-mm.
I'm on some Facebook groups with moms, and it sounds like they just end up crying. and losing their minds at times. And then they
Which
just
is why you need to go to workout so you stay sane,
get
so you
through
don't
it.
kill
But
your kids, right?
yeah, like, I don't know.
So stay sane, work out, find the time. I got it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Any desire to ever go into postpartum pelvic health, or are you're like
I've
ortho through
thought
and
about
through?
it.
Yeah.
I've thought about it, especially when I'm in it. I realize that there needs to be more, because
Yeah.
here in Naples, like, even I only know of like a couple,
Yeah.
and even when I've gone, very nice people, but they're like, "Oh, you're good. You're really strong," and I'm like, "I'm gonna lift,
You're
200
like, you have
pounds.
no idea. Yeah.
You're comparing me to the old people you see,
Right.
like, because that's who comes to you all the time,
Right.
or people who have like a real issue, like a prolapse. I don't have that, but am I really ready for,
Right.
So it's just, there's like a lack of
I
enough
think
people.
I think again with your background and understanding, in my area up here, I've ended up hyper niching to work just with athletes because there's still that stigma. I think it's a ton better than it used to in PT. I think there's a lot more PTs doing CrossFit, but there's in the pelvic health world, like there's like it's almost it's almost like a recipe. Oh, you should breathe this way when you do this. And I'm like, well, what's their one rep max here? Like, what are they actually doing? Are they cycling? Like, and if you
Yeah,
don't understand that, and if you're
yeah,
not in that space, and for me, the whole first year I was in CrossFit, I just put my head down, shut my mouth, didn't tell anybody what I did because I'm like, I need to learn this shit. Like,
yeah.
I need to understand this, and that's where I think there could be a wonderful opportunity, a space for you because you get that, you can translate that and interpret that and be able to navigate that for a particular population. So I don't know, we'll bring you over to the dark side maybe.
I've thought about it. I don't know.
All right, you keep
Right
thinking.
now, I don't
Your
have enough
plate's full. Yeah,
time.
your plate's full. If you ever want to do it, you let me know. I'll point you in the
Yeah.
right direction.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate following your journey and I appreciate you coming on and just being a role model for, women who are in sport and in PT to be like, hey, I can mash these worlds together. I can make this work. And you're just a great example for moms to like, we're going to put our heads down and keep going and do the best we can with what we've got. So thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
being on.
Yeah.
Sorry about the tech issues and
No worries.
can't wait to see you join the masters part of CrossFit. We'll be following you along there. Okay.
Maybe the 45, I'll be ready by
Okay.
then.
We'll be watching. We'll be
All
watching.
right.
All right. Thanks
Take
again.
care.